Well, good afternoon, and thank you for that warm introduction, Hugh. Much too long. I can tell you, Hugh is a wonderful leader in our community. We're fortunate to have him at Baptist. He's one of the best in the healthcare industry across our country, and he's also made tremendous sacrifices in serving chamber leadership. It's good to be here, and also good to be here on a Friday. I do a tremendous amount of traveling and often find myself on the road on a Friday, so it's always good to be back home. Frankly, for someone who travels as much as I do, I'm not a very good traveler. And I've got to share a little story with you. It was not long ago that I traveled to Pittsburgh to visit with Heinz, one of our big clients there. Following that, I was flying to Denver to meet with one of our clients. I put my sport coat overboard, above in one of the bins. I remembered that about 2 days later. So I lost a sport coat on that leg. The next day, I was flying from Denver back to Jacksonville via Dallas. As I went through the security line in the Denver airport, I had an extra battery to my cell phone, left it there. But I made it to Dallas, and you're probably wondering what's going to happen next. 8 o'clock flight, p.m., American Airlines, pushing back from the gate in Dallas, and I realized I didn't have my cell phone. I realized I had left it back in the seating area. I told the flight attendant as he was walking by that I had left my cell phone and I needed to go get it. The guy looked at me like I was crazy. The plane continued to taxi back and was on the tarmac. And the flight attendant came back to me and said, "What's your cell phone number?" I gave him my cell phone number, still highly frustrated at the situation. We continued to sit, and 5 minutes later, the flight attendant brought back my cell phone and said, "How is that for American Airlines service?" What had happened is the flight attendant told the pilot that I had left my cell phone. The pilot sent the ground crew back inside to see if they could find it. They couldn't find it. They needed the phone number to make sure the phone rang. They found the cell phone, walked back out, tossed it up to the pilot through a window, honest truth, and I got my cell phone back. It was at that time that the pilot got on the speaker and said, "If you're wondering why we've been sitting on the tarmac for 10 minutes, it's the guy in 11D in the orange shirt." He later got back on when we were up in the air and said, "By the way, the guy in 11D is buying drinks for the whole plane." So I'm pretty frugal, and I can assure you that didn't happen. But I do think there's a couple of lessons in that story. First of all, it tells you the guy that you're going to be listening to for the next 20 minutes has a number of issues, which is very true. But I think it's also a reminder of that phrase, never be afraid to ask. And time again, I remind myself of that. I remind the folks that I work with at Acosta, never be afraid to ask, because you never know what might happen. Over the next few minutes, I'd love to talk to you a little bit about Acosta, what we do. We're an 84-year-old company here in the community. Talk to you about some things that I think really matter at our company: culture, recognition, service, and some other things. And then share with you some leadership lessons through some books that I have recently read that I would encourage you to read as well. Basically, Acosta is an outsourced provider of sales and marketing services to consumer product goods companies. Companies like Kraft, Procter & Gamble, Campbell's, ConAgra, part of the Coca-Cola Company, Ocean Spray, Welch's, are clients. And they make a fundamental decision. Do they want to insource all their sales and marketing and merchandising, or do they want to outsource all of those services? Virtually 100% of our income is commission income. We don't take title to inventory. We don't own trucks. We don't own logistics. At the core, we're a sales and marketing company. The company is headquartered here. We have 20,000 associates, actually a record number of associates in our company. We're privately held. 300 active associates make up the ownership group, as well as a Boston-based private equity firm called T.H. Lee. The company was a Jacksonville-only company until 1927, and we remained a Jacksonville-only company for 47 years, and I'll take you on a journey of how we expanded from there. We built out a regional company in the 80s and 90s, and as we set in June of 1998, we were a $140 million company with 2,000 associates. And during a period of 15 months, we actually went from a regional company to a national company. We did a merger in the central part of the U.S., acquired a company in the West Coast, East Coast, Texas, and then moved into Canada in January of 2002. And we are the largest sales and marketing agency across North America. As we grew, I think there were two important lessons for us. Always acquire the very best. People make the difference, and our philosophy was to go find the very best people in their respective marketplaces across the country. The second real lesson for us was to integrate quickly. As you can imagine, back in '99 and 2000 and 2001, those were very difficult years for us as we built out common HR platforms, as we built out common IT platforms as an organization. Where we did not integrate quickly on our path over the last few years, we didn't do as well. Let me clarify a couple of words as I explain what we do. Clients are the people that we represent. We have about 1,200 of them. And customers are people that we sell products to. So the likes of Publix, Winn-Dixie, Kroger, Safeway, Harris Teeter, every single retailer that you would find in the U.S. We essentially do four things. And let me use a practical example versus reading off a page. Heinz is one of our clients. One of their products is Heinz ketchup. So our objective is to profitably sell as much Heinz ketchup in this country that we can. And we do that by calling on the headquarters of every single retailer across the U.S., making sure they carry the right number of Heinz products, make sure the assortment's correct, make sure they promote the product appropriately. The highest volume weeks of the year for Heinz ketchup are Memorial Day, 4th of July, and maybe a surprise to you, Super Bowl. So our objective is that when you walk into your local grocery store, that you find a lot of Heinz ketchup on display, merchandised at an attractive price. Our responsibility also is regarding shelf placement. Obviously, we want Heinz ketchup to be on the optimal place on the shelf, and we want our pricing to be correctly. We do not set pricing as an organization, but we work with retailers to price our product in the optimal place versus competition such as Hunt's or Del Monte or private label. We also do order to cash. We have about 800 folks among our 20,000 associates that do order entry, deduction management, and contract processing on behalf of our clients. We essentially do business in 8 channels. Think about everywhere that you would buy a food or a non-edible type product. So we're heavily involved in the club channel with companies like Sam's and Costco and BJ's. Convenience stores, we cover 60,000 convenience stores, ranging from Gate Petroleum locally to 7-Eleven. The drug channel with Walgreens, Rite Aid, and CVS. A majority of our business is in the grocery channel, serving traditional grocery stores across North America. We have a significant business in the mass channel. Walmart, we have 2,000 associates in Walmart stores this afternoon doing merchandising work, Kmart's and Target's. We actually jumped into the military channel via an acquisition back in 2008. And we have 800 associates that are involved in serving commissaries, exchanges, not only in the U.S., but around the world. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how important the military is for us as an organization. We actually do business in the natural specialties channel, selling ethnic and organic products. If you walk into a Whole Foods, we would have responsibility for about 40% of the products that you would find in their center store. And then heavily involved in the value channel. The one channel we're not in is food service. We do not do business with hospitals, schools, restaurants, but that may well be a close-in growth platform for us moving forward. This is a snapshot of the retailers that we serve. As I mentioned, it's virtually every retailer that you can imagine. And we actually have some responsibility for 22 to 25% of the product that is going through that retailer's warehouse. So in aggregate, we're the largest vendor doing business with every retailer across the country. And if you walked into your average Publix or Winn-Dixie store, we would have some type of responsibility for about 7,500 of the items that you would find on the shelf. This is a snapshot of some of the brands that we represent. We're fortunate to represent about 60% of the #1 and #2 brands that you would find in your grocery store. And we've also been able to build critical mass. As you look at the top line, you can see that we represent about 60% of all the frozen food that is sold in a grocery store. If you look further down the line, we've built tremendous scale in beverage, representing about 50% of all the multi-serve, shelf-stable beverages that are out there. HBC, which is health and beauty care, is a huge part of our portfolio, as is meat deli produce. But we do have a well-rounded portfolio across the entire store.